Welcome to the Create Your Happy podcast, where the mission is to empower women in their journey of self-discovery. Here we explore how to fully embrace our humanness, find our unique voice, and understand that through unconditional love and conscious relationships, we have the power to change the world. I'm your host, Christy Holt, your one and only happiness hussy, adventure guide, and conscious funpreneur. I'm on a heartfelt mission to change the world one beautiful soul at a time. Are you ready to elevate your relationships to the next level? I've got you. It's time for a messy fucking beautiful adventure. It's time to create your happy. Hello, beautiful human, and welcome back to the Create Your Happy podcast. Today, your happiness hussy is coming in hot right into the heart of conflict resolution within relationships. Now, while the focus again of this conversation is on intimate connections, these skills are going to be invaluable in all areas of life and within all kinds of relationships. Conflict is natural, but how we handle these moments can truly transform our relationship and deepen our understanding of both ourselves and of others. Consistency in how we handle and respond to these situations, especially when it comes to boundary enforcement, can significantly improve the security and health of our relationships in the long term. I mean, how we do relationships can truly impact our quality of life and the happiness and the peace that we experience day to day. So while sometimes it might be uncomfortable to look at our weaknesses, it is in doing this very self-discovery that we can grow and evolve and create the life and love that we truly desire. So, as we navigate this sometimes uncomfortable terrain, remember that this journey is about your ultimate growth and that the adventure will be that much more fun if you bring along a healthy dose of compassion, both towards yourself and your partner. So in today's discussion, we'll be exploring about how cultivating compassion, even in those heated moments, through techniques like mindful listening, can really truly create a significant difference when it comes to resolving conflicts. So with no further ado, let's get right down to this week's topic, which is how to handle conflicts with grace, set healthy boundaries, and ultimately create those win-win solutions that strengthen your relationships and improve your overall human experience. So where does conflict come from anyways? Conflict often arises not only from what is said, but also from how it is said, and even more importantly, how it is received. So in this conversation, we'll be focusing on the one key practical action step that you can start implementing right away that will change the dynamics of how you handle disagreements. We're going to incorporate some of the previous learnings, such as intention setting and mental rehearsal techniques that we shared that we talked about in the last episode, to help further round out our approach to conflict resolution. And of course, we'll be touching on things like boundaries and setting yourself up for success as well. Then we are going to build on this foundation with some additional strategies that emphasize compassion, understanding, and effective communication. Conflicts can escalate very quickly when we're triggered by emotional responses. And this often happens before we're even fully aware of why we're reacting. A powerful starting point is to recognize these triggers both in ourselves and in others. And to help us better manage these triggers, I'm going to introduce an exercise a little bit later on that focuses on observing the physical signs of distress, like your tightening chest or a quickened heartbeat or sweaty palms, which can help you to recognize when you're becoming emotionally activated. But first, a little word about triggers. Now, a lot of people really view these emotional responses as a reaction to external circumstance or experience, as it appears to be, which of course can result in blame and finger pointing. Now, I've certainly been there, done that myself, got the fucking t-shirt, and realized now that blame and complaining and finger pointing never actually got the result that I desired, which is usually what's desired is usually a change to the circumstance. But blame and complaining and fault finding actually keep us focused on the problem. And this keeps all of our energy directed towards the very thing that we really don't want, right? So where our focus goes, our energy flows, as they say. So What I want to do here is shift our focus onto finding constructive solutions instead. Okay, so back to triggers for a minute, because what if they are not merely a hot response to this external stimuli that you can't control? Well, they might just be the opposite, an internal response to something that you can control. Yes, that's you. There you are, you magnificent human being. This is where you get to stand in your power to actually move forward and respond in a way that actually feels really fucking good for you. The truth is, these triggers are actually super helpful information. These emotional escalations, while maybe uncomfortable, are valuable signposts, a signal that something's off or just needs your attention. And that thing that's off, it's within you. It is also within your ability to shift. Now, this has nothing to do with right or wrong, good or bad, any of those things. Getting triggered or emotionally activated isn't something to be ashamed of. But depending on what you do with that information, that's going to be what is most important. Now, this signal itself is actually just letting you know that something's out of alignment. It's an invitation for you to look inwards at what's coming up within you. And this insight that's within you can be a super powerful tool as far as it comes to personal growth. And if we can learn to respond to it with curiosity and compassion, rather than defensiveness or judgment, this is going to help us not only process through our emotions more effectively, but also to communicate with others and receive what they're saying as well. So if we can start to recognize these internal reactions for the actual gift that they truly are before we act, then we can use this information to serve us rather than having these triggers or emotional activations control us. This, again, puts you in the driver's seat of your life, allowing you to now consciously respond versus unconsciously or react on autopilot. This avoids a whole lot of that guilt and shame spiral that often also follows hot on the heels of a triggered reaction. And most of the time, the things that create a strong emotional response are actually things that we actually feel are either true or things we fear might be true. I mean, think about it. If someone says or does something that holds absolutely no truth for you, you simply aren't going to have any emotional response to it. You'd probably just think something like, oh, wow, they sure see things differently. Maybe they need their eyes checked. Or sure, maybe you might even potentially think they're right off their fucking rocker. But you very likely won't feel personally affronted by it. That personal emotional reactivity is actually a really big clue that something in you is coming up into your awareness. Now, just a quick important reminder here to help you to discern between constructive feedback from other people and hurtful projections of another person's insecurities, because hurting people tend to hurt other people in an attempt to create safety within themselves, in an attempt to soothe their own pain. They can project these pains and these fears onto other people. And we can actually learn how to respond to this with compassion and with firm boundaries. These hurt people, these unhappy, hurt, pain-holding people tend to project the fears that they hold within themselves onto others, and will also often act in defensive or potentially very hurtful ways towards others. And on the other hand, a quick reminder here is that happy, loving people genuinely find a way to deliver necessary constructive feedback with kindness and compassion. And when they do hurt another person, which is usually mostly unintentional, they actually take steps to mend the relationship. For example, a real apology followed up with a change in actions. Being able to observe others before reacting will help you to use this discernment to really assess what's actually going on before you react from a triggered or highly emotional space. So let's talk about, again, how to get into this space of calm awareness when we are feeling activated. The best news here is that recognizing your triggers becomes easier with practice, and you can do that by simply observing. You can practice listening to your body, and in in this way, this intentional observation in times when you are not in conflict in order to improve your skill. And you can do this with a very simple exercise. So I'll invite you here for just a moment to go on a small journey with me if it feels right for you. And I want to invite you just to imagine for a moment a time where you may have recently felt triggered that still might bother you. I'd suggest a smaller upset rather than a large one, because we're just trying to ease into the practicing right now. And if you're not in the right space to go there right now, you can absolutely sit this one out and return to this exercise when you are in a better space. This exercise is not meant to fully bring you back into that trigger. It is simply to have an opportunity to notice what is arising within your body. So once you have this imagery, this feeling, allow yourself just for a moment, okay, in a safe space right now, because nothing is actually happening. Allow yourself for a moment to feel as though this trigger is happening. And then shift your focus into observation mode. I want you to pay attention. I want you to observe your body. You could possibly do a scan from head to toe, paying attention to the physical signs of any distress or constriction in your body. This might look like tightening in the chest, a constriction in the throat, a quickened heartbeat, clenched fists, maybe shallow breathing, all signals and signs that you are in a fight or flight sort of mode. Now, emotional signals might also include feeling suddenly angry or sad or defensive. Now, a caveat here to this exercise is that you are not going to judge yourself for any of these observed reactions. First of all, these are perfectly normal responses, and these are incredibly helpful. It's just that if you ignore them or you try to avoid feeling them, they can't help you. So remember, this trigger, this emotional activation you're experiencing for the purpose of this exercise is currently only in your imagination. And this exercise is simply for learning and observational purposes. So just take note, no judgment, no shame in the game, just taking note of what these signals are bringing into your awareness in this now moment. They are probably really helpful alerts telling you that something is happening to trigger this inner warning system. Now, once you have identified these physical triggers that you feel in your body, you can start to notice them when it comes to future conflicts. And you can actually employ what could be called a pause and plan approach. Okay, so this is just, for example, if a discussion begins to escalate, you can suggest a 5-minute pause. Before things become too heated, you just excuse yourself from the conversation. This pause can actually help both parties to cool down so that you can both come back a little bit more centered, ready to engage constructively. In this time, you can do a little planning, right? The pause, so you can plan. You can regulate your nervous system, okay? Listening back to last week's episode to build this foundation of regulating your nervous system, and then using some of the intention setting and mental rehearsal techniques that I shared last week so that you can keep your cool and create a more positive outcome when you do return to the conversation. So pause and plan and then return. So let's take a look at what this might look like in practice. Imagine your partner forgets to do something that he's promised to do again. And you notice your immediate reaction is irritation. I mean, why can't he remember to do this thing without my constantly reminding him? It's like he wants me to nag him, right? But instead of actually reacting and speaking with a sharp comment, this time you start with taking a few deep breaths, regulating your nervous system, and recognizing this rising irritation as the early warning alert that you needed. So you can pause and plan, and respond with calm intention, expressing your feelings without any blame, which creates a more positive outcome. It avoids eliciting a defensive reaction from your partner and results in the conversation really truly moving forward. So this could be something like, I feel upset that this was forgotten because it's really important to me. Can we talk about how to make sure it doesn't get forgotten moving forward? Now, when we go in with guns blazing, which we sometimes do, been there, done that, we basically shut down the productive part of the conversation before we even get started. And chances are, if we can let go of our assumptions and our stories and our judgments and instead get curious and approach this conversation with more compassion and openness, with our intention in mind, then the two of us can come to a solution where we both see it as a win. Now, effective conflict resolution isn't just about managing our reactions, but also about expressing ourselves in ways that foster understanding and create respect. And here is how you can practice this. Firstly, use compassionate communication. Start conversations with affirmations or recognition of the other person's feelings or efforts. This helps to create a positive foundation for the conversation, and it shows that you acknowledge their challenges, their emotions, as well as setting the clear intention for the conversation. Reminding one another, connecting and understanding are at the heart of your intention for the conversation. It will create an environment that is truly compassionate, where loving, supportive communication can occur. Another crucial thing here is setting boundaries, and it's crucial to define what respectful communication looks like for you. This was a whole conversation back earlier in the season, so if you haven't listened to that episode, I absolutely invite you to go back and listen to that full conversation about boundaries. Quick, key important piece here is that boundaries are actually an invitation into deeper connection with you. And if you can clearly express these boundaries to your partner, to other people, and kindly enforce them if they are crossed, you will feel better. Now, sometimes the tricky thing is we don't know a boundary has been crossed until it has. And rather than guilt tripping yourself or anyone else, you can actually respond with this new knowledge in mind, with compassion and grace, but also with firm intent. For example, I want to understand your perspective and discuss this with you, but when voices are raised or harsh words are used, I find it really difficult to listen. Let's agree to keep our discussion calm. And if either of us begins to feel overwhelmed, let's just agree to take a short pause, take a break, and revisit the conversation. We're both feeling a little bit more calm. That can really just help create a boundary when it comes to specific interactions and communication, and create a container that feels much, much better for you to speak in. Now, you might be wondering, what if they don't respect your boundaries? Well, first of all, again, this is no one else's responsibility to like or respect your boundaries, okay? And, to be honest, we don't actually want them to. That would be like coercion and manipulation if we made them and they had to respect your boundaries. And on the flip side, I'm sure you wouldn't like to be forced to respect other people's, arbitrary boundaries either. And it's okay. We're all different. Communicating and upholding boundaries, your boundaries, is your job. The way that others respond to your boundaries is not your responsibility, right? We often have to create boundaries for those people who are least likely to uphold them, right? So we can run into troubles when we expect someone else to adhere to them, but they end up stomping all over them. So what to do in this case? Well, you're going to do what you said you do, right? You're going to follow through. You're going to uphold your boundary. And done right, your boundary isn't a demand for someone else to behave a certain way. Again, that would be more like personal preference or opinion, or potentially an ultimatum or a threat, none of which are actually effective boundaries. And when you set a boundary, remember, it's up to you to follow through. For example, perhaps your boundary sounds something like, if you speak disrespectfully to me, I will leave the room. Okay, so then when they speak disrespectfully to you and they're walking all over your boundary, then you actually just leave the damn room, right? They don't have to respect your boundaries. Again, thank goodness, because if we all had to go around conforming to the way everyone else wanted things, we'd end up self-abandoning all over the fucking place. It is important to note, though, that those who genuinely desire to maintain this deeper connection with you, a healthy relationship, they will absolutely do what they can to respect your boundaries and to create win-win solutions. This isn't about them having to contort themselves, but their genuine interest in building a solid relationship with you. So no, others don't have to respect your wishes, but when they cannot or will not respect your boundaries, assuming that you've communicated them clearly and with a loving and kind intent, it's probably time to consider the terms of your relationship and reconsider what that relationship actually looks like. Now, assuming that your boundaries, done properly, are actually important expressions of your most authentic self, it may be that the relationship needs some new parameters. It also could be that the relationship just simply isn't aligned. Now, for more on boundaries, again, I invite you to check out the episode 9 of this season for a more in-depth conversation, or check out my program, Authenticity Unleashed, because this program is designed to help you stop that self-abandonment. It's designed to help you ditch the people-pleasing, discover and communicate your true needs and these healthy boundaries in order to create a life and love that feels truly fucking amazing for yourself. Okay, I want to talk about navigating conflict with grace and creating these win-win solutions. Approaching conflict with the intention to understand rather than to win creates space for solutions that benefit everyone involved. So as we head into the wrap up here, I just want to incorporate some key reminders that will help you to navigate disagreements with a little bit more grace. First, focus on the issue, not the person. Okay, this means addressing the behavior, the situation, not the character of your partner. Not always or never, you always do this and you never do this. These kinds of accusations and other forms of exaggeration really create a defensive reaction. So instead, remain curious together about how the issue can be solved and on the solutions rather than the problem. Remember, you love this person, right? And you want to create an outcome that keeps you in close connection with them. You're on the same team, you and them, right? Against the issue. And if you keep this in mind, this will help to keep your discussions both objective and productive. The other thing is really seeking to understand. Like I say, often conflicts escalate because we make assumptions and judgments about the other person's intent. But instead, what if we ask clarifying questions to really understand where they're coming from? I mean, you know what they say when we make assumptions, right? We make an ass out of you and me. I mean, what if instead of assuming the worst, you assumed the best intentions from your partner? How would your approach differ if you went into conversations always assuming the best, even if maybe there's something being triggered in you? And instead of coming in guns a-blazing, you went in seeking clarification. And I bet that you will find a much more receptive conversational partner when you come in with curiosity. Next, we want to make sure in conflicts, it's just so vital to communicate in a way that validates your partner's feelings. This is showing compassion. And as well, being sure to share your perspective without stomping all over theirs, right? Without overshadowing theirs. And, instead of using these comparative kind of experiences, which can sometimes trigger defensiveness, if we can focus on acknowledging and validating their emotions directly. Something like, I can see that you're really upset about this, and I'm here to understand and work through it with you. Let's talk about what's bothering you. Rather than, why are you so pissed off, right? That is, I'm here too, and I'm managing this too, and I'm not, right? Leave the comparisons aside. Instead, invite them to share what's bothering them and then listen, right? This honest and open approach actually shows empathy and a readiness for you to engage in an encouraging dialogue, the one that focuses on mutual feelings and, again, those shared solutions. Speaking of shared solutions, let's look to create win-win solutions, right? Because when we look for solutions that satisfy both parties, we both can win. This might involve some form of, a bit of compromise from time to time, but so often what can result is finding a completely new third path that neither of you had considered, but one that actually works even better than either person's original idea. Now, a quick just other little things that I wanted to add in as we finish out this conversation. I want to just throw these little pieces in there so that you can navigate conflict with a little bit more calm. Self-care is really important, okay? So self-care can be absolutely crucial when it comes to maintaining your emotional balance. Of course, you're the only one in your meat suit that can control how you respond. And incorporating self-care practices can help you stay grounded, which means you're less prone to getting triggered, right? Resulting in less conflict in the first place to have to navigate, right? This allows you to observe and move into a response versus reacting. So taking care of yourself, no, it's not selfish. Yes, it's so fucking necessary. The second thing is that this requires practice and patience. Like any other skills, we have to practice and develop these skills, right? We need to be patient with ourselves and with others as you're navigating this new learning curve, right? Learning to communicate better isn't a one and done. It's actually about ongoing growth and development. And of course, let's not forget the power of forgiveness. Forgiveness can really help to release the tension and foster a more compassionate environment for dialogue and resolution. And for more on the topic, I invite you to check out episode 15 of this season. But what I want to leave you with here is this key idea that forgiveness is about you stepping out of ongoing suffering. It is all starting with forgiveness of self first. Okay, gorgeous human. In this conversation, we have covered a lot, including recognizing triggers, setting boundaries, and navigating conflicts with more grace and compassion. And it is my genuine hope that you now feel a little bit more confident that you can start transforming potential conflicts into opportunities for growth and deeper connection. And you can do this by standing in your power and responding with conscious intention. Now remember, it's not about avoiding conflict, but rather about learning how to handle it in ways that expand your heart and enrich your connections. I would absolutely love to hear how any of these tools have shifted things for you and helped you to create more peaceful and connective dialogues. So please reach out and share with me. If you found this episode helpful, I would love for you to rate the show and leave a review, leave a comment, let me know how it was for you. And if you know someone who might love this podcast, please share it. As always, I am so grateful to be part of your messy fucking beautiful adventure towards happier, healthier relationships. I love you, my friend. Now let's go do some epic shit, shall we? Calling all strong women. Are you trapped in a cycle of people pleasing? Are you tired of saying yes when you really mean no? Have you been living for everyone but yourself? Welcome to Authenticity Unleashed. Imagine a life where you call the shots. Imagine living truly happy and free. Authenticity Unleashed was designed just for you so that you can create the life and relationships that you desire and deserve. Picture setting boundaries without guilt and building relationships that truly lift you up. Ready for a new adventure? Register now and start your journey to a more authentic you. Craving more personalized support? Upgrade now and get tailored one-on-one guidance. Your life, your rules, your moment to shine. This is your Authenticity Unleashed. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. I trust you were inspired to take back your power and create your happy. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love to hear from you. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share the show with the women in your life who could use a little more inspiration today. If you'd like to connect or explore the additional resources mentioned in this episode, you can find those details and links in the show notes below. As always, get out there, have fun, be you, and create your happy.